Hello and welcome to the Table Talk Wednesdays here at the CDL Café, where leadership isn't just talked about, it's challenged. This isn't your typical leadership conversation. This is where we gather around the table every week to ask hard questions and put character back to the center of how we lead. Sometimes it's just us, the team, sharing real reflection, and sometimes we pull up an extra seat for a guest whose voice brings fresh perspective, bold insight, and lived experience to the table. Because around here, we believe leadership that isn't rooted in character won't last. Leadership that doesn't challenge the system won't change it. And leadership that's all image and no substance isn't leadership at all. So grab your coffee, lean in, and let's get into today's table talk. Let's go.
To feel comfortable, have your cup of coffee, and just introduce yourself to us, because we are sitting around the table, and you tell us more about yourself, and then we'll take the discussion from there. So that's how it's running. That's the Character-Driven Leadership Cafe, and we're welcoming you on board or on the table with us, and we're happy to be discussing with you today's topic around leadership. And I looked at your information. It seems to be impressive.
Thank you.
So I hope that there will be no shocking questions.
Okay.
You will be able to handle them perfectly.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for the invite. Thank you, Dr. Leroy, as well.
Welcome. So, who's Catherine? Let us know. Let the people know.
Catherine is a catalyst. I'm a catalyst. I'm one that will come into a community to help create stimulation, to help create momentum that leads to an end result, right? So the reason why I say I'm a catalyst, because anytime I put my hands to do something, whether it's a community engagement project, whether it's mentoring the youth in the community, whether it's working and coaching with business owners, the one thing that when I sit back and say, who is Catherine? I am a catalyst. You remember, like back in school, I remember it was a little science project, and it was like this little silver thing we had to put in this jar, and it would spin around and it would just make all this motion, right? But intentional motion. So when I say I'm a catalyst, I help intentional motion go in the direction where it's supposed to go so we can get a desired result, right? Whether that's be a community engagement project, whether I'm mentoring the youth, or whether I'm working with a business owner. I'm very intentional about everything that I do. So in addition to me being a catalyst, I'm intentional. I don't like to waste time. I like to tackle on challenges that come my way. It allows me to think on my feet. It allows me to problem solve in real time, to come up with real solutions.
Awesome. Okay, so Catherine, what does leadership mean to you?
Leadership means to me going beyond yourself and helping to pour into another person, to allow that other individual to operate in their best self, in their best giftings. Leadership is like if you take a rock and you throw it in a body of water, you're going to see ripples in the water. A leader is ripples. We help create ripples, right? Ripples in our community, ripples in our society. So leadership has to be beyond yourself. It's not just about a title, a position, or it's not, because leadership is not saying I want someone to worship me. Leadership is saying I'm going to help cultivate somebody else to help bring them up. But in that cultivation process, you're also really imparting wisdom into that next individual so they can replicate that same mindset, replicate that same method, so it can continue and make an impact in the community. So that's what leadership is, beyond yourself.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to break down the word going beyond yourself, because today our topic is meant to help those who want to walk the way and lead the way, but don't know where to start. So what does going beyond yourself mean?
What it means to me is really understanding one self-identity. I think before you can lead the way and before you can go beyond yourself, you have to know who you are internally. You have to be grounded with
Mm,
who you are. And sometimes that means before you go into that leadership capacity, you need to take some quiet time, whether that be a month, a year. One time, even from my business, I took off a whole year just to reground myself, to go and to focus a lot on personal development, because I was in a space of my journey that I feel that I wasn't giving my best, and I was exhausted. It was a lot of things going on in business and in family. And I believe in being transparent. I needed that year to readjust. And in that year, I had to work on me. So when I say go beyond yourself, there was nothing I could give at that point. And so
mm,
when I took that year off and I began to focus on personal development and began to focus on me and reading books to transform my mind, when I got back in the game of my leadership role to working with individuals, I was able to not just be caught up into the things and the challenges that I was facing. I now was an overcomer of those spaces, and now I was able to pour into the next individual that may have also been through some of those things that I went through. So getting beyond yourself first has to start with self-identity, knowing who you are and being grounded in who you are, and then you're able to pour from an overflow.
mm, mm, mm. And what would you say for those who, like, when you tell people you have to know who you are? Like today, we live in a world where people want everything quickly,
Mhm.
right? They don't have patience, especially with the new generation that we're having today in today's world. They might tell you, I don't want to waste time. And you mentioned that in the beginning. You said that you are a person who don't waste time. So I think that you will be perfect answering this question. When people tell you, I don't want to waste time, what does it mean to take off and get to know myself? I need to get results. I need to get this. I need to get that. So what would you tell these people who might think that what you shared right now is a part of wasting time?
So I would say there's a saying, slow down to speed up. And I think if someone, so I do agree with not wasting time, but also I'm intentional about what am I doing in that time. And I think we have to define what does time mean, and then what does quality time and what you're doing in that space of time, right? So say for example, let me just take today, for example. I got up early in the morning because I had my first meeting was at 8:30 in the morning, a virtual meeting. So I normally craft
Hmm.
out my day so that way it's structured, but with meaningful activities, because we could be busy doing a lot of things and we think we're being intentional, but we're just doing a lot of busy work that's not leading to productivity. During that time when I knew I
Hmm.
needed to take a sabbatical, I wasn't being productive. I was busy. I was doing a lot of things. People were still seeing me, but I had to be honest with myself. I couldn't worry about what other people was thinking in terms of why would she dare take some time off? Personal development, that's wasted. In fact, if after I did that, I sped up. I sped up with contracts. I sped up with new clients. I sped up productivity in terms of how my business operations was flowing. So I think we have to define um, intentionality and what are we doing with the time. Because if it's just a lot of busy work that's not leading to anything productive, you're really just spinning your wheels.
Yeah,
Hmm.
can I add to that too?
Yeah, go ahead, sure.
Yeah, and Catherine, you bring up a great point, and I love that you talked about that because I remember, and I don't know if you remember this or not, Catherine, but back when Tyler Perry started back in the '90s, going
Mhm.
into the late '90s, early 2000s, I remember in one of it after one of his plays, because he would talk to the audience after the plays, and so I'm watching that, and he says this thing. He's like, "I got to go away, y'all, for a minute." He was like, but if you give me an opportunity to go away and kind of just rest my mind, I'll come back with even more, material and everything like that. And a good leader understands when they need to take time away because we can't just be on this constant go 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 without resting because our bodies mentally, physically, emotionally, we need time to rest or we'll
Mhm.
burn out, we'll burn these bodies out. they
Yeah.
will burn out. And for you to say, you know what, hey, I gotta put the brakes on this for a minute, you know, And I don't know if you knew that you were going to do a year, if that was your intention to do a year, or you just had a, if you didn't have a set time and the year just happened to be that. But we have to understand that there are times where we do have to step away in order, like you were saying, Kathy, in order to be able to move, keep moving.
Yeah.
Because if we don't, think about, let me ask you this. What do you think would have been the repercussions had you not taken that year sabbatical? What do you think would have happened to you had you not done that?
I think I wouldn't have the business today. I don't think I would have it. I think it would have completely fell apart. And I think I would have lost trust from the people that knew about my business or those that were supporting it, right? So I did do proper communication. I let those that was in the circle and those that was connected to the business know what was. So I didn't just go MIA without any
Right.
communication. But I think if I didn't do that, I would have lost complete trust and it wouldn't have been salvaged. That's what I believe.
Mm, mm,
Hmm.
mm.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, that's good.
Awesome.
That's good.
I love this. I love this. I love this answer. Um, well, today's topic is what does the next generation expect from leaders today?
I
So
think
that's why we're
transparency.
focused transparency.
I think
Right.
they want transparency because I think gone is the day of saying I'm a CEO, I'm a boss, I'm a leader, and pretending that everything is okay. The young people are not hearing that. I mean, it don't just have to be teenagers; it could just be young adults. They're not hearing that. I was at a networking event last night in Delaware, and that was one of the things that I talked about was transparency. So there were a lot of other leaders, other business owners in the room, and they were sharing their stories of what they've gone through in their life to where they are now. And when it was my opportunity to share, I said I'm grateful that it's transparency in the room, because a lot of times people will look at someone larger than life. Oh my gosh, they got this business. They just seem like they're larger than life, but they don't know the before they got to that point. What did it look like? What did it feel like? What were the things they went through? And I think it also it 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 qualifies a person in the
Mm,
minds of other individuals when they know, listen, these are the real things that I went through to get to where my business is today. And these are real principles I had to implement. These are strategies I had to implement to get to where I am. Like, there's no secret sauce in building a business, other than you got to go through the fundamental steps, literally. And I
mm,
think people want transparency. And I feel like the more, I will even say this about me, because I've gone through different things in my life, the more I've become transparent, even on different talks and my own podcast and different things, I have opened myself up. And by me opening myself up, I've seen a difference, even with referrals or people wanting to do business with me, because it's a connection that's taken place.
mm, mm. So I want you to imagine this. You have today's leaders and you have today's generation. What are you going to tell today's leaders? Maybe those who's been there for the last decade or more, who those whom we see today. What are you going to tell these leaders, and what are you going to tell or advise today's generation so you can connect them together? Because as we all know that there is some sort of confusion going on around
Mm-hmm.
there, right?
Mm-hmm. A
So
disconnect.
you have this exactly. So I want you to speak to these two type of, the leaders and the today's generation, and just make the connection.
Mm-hmm. So I have two thoughts on this. With the older or seasoned, let me say seasoned generation, 10 years or more, and you know everybody's not open to feedback. So back, I will give those leaders feedback, but if I feel or if there is opposition, I also have learned, don't waste your energy in spaces where there's not open, if someone's not open for growth, right? But I do believe that there should be some kind of bridge of a gap with the different generations, because you know there is a language gap. And what I mean by that is just really, it's not even a cultural thing. It's an age thing, right? You have the younger generation, the older generation, and how do we communicate together and understanding that? And I think the best way, again, I've been doing youth and young adult development outside of my business consulting ever since I was young myself. and youth. I've always been able to connect with them because I don't come at them that like I'm just this larger than life person. You know, I'm always coming to them in a very realistic, practical standpoint. So what I would say to the seasoned individuals is look at your approach. Are you willing to look at your approach? I think that's the first question I would ask, because if they're not willing to look at the approach, there's nothing further I need to talk about. However, if someone is open for change and open for adjustments, I'll say adjustments, because they don't have to throw everything out, their whole system, but if they're open for adjustments, open for tweaking. But also I would say, even for the senior leaders, sometimes you also have to have someone within your company that can help be that voice piece and be that bridge. It doesn't always have to be senior leadership, but if senior leadership says and identify, even with myself, I've been in situations where, you know what, I don't know if I can speak that language. I don't know if I'm going to be the best connector. So I will identify someone. I'm still a part of the situation, but I will identify someone that I think can connect better, so we all still are coming together on one accord. So that's like a different thought patterns in terms of answering that question.
Awesome. Awesome. Dr. McKenzie, any input?
Yeah, I think that, Catherine brings up a great point. When we're talking about this bridge between, I call them Generation Next, the next generation and our generation, those of us that are seasoned. I was going to say senior, but I won't say that, that are seasoned.
Season.
But that are seasoned. I think that's the most important part, and included and part of that connection. How we make the connection is what I think Catherine said: transparency. And I think the other part of that, the other leg to that, is authenticity. I think the younger generation is looking for us to be open with them, to be honest with them, to be truly authentic. They don't want the sugar coating. They don't want to tell it like it is, so that they can have a
Mm,
clear and better understanding. And we owe it to them to be transparent, to be authentic in what we're saying and what we're doing, and showing them what they're going to possibly encounter. Now, on their end, they have to be open. They have to be open to listen. They have to be open to learning. And I know we've all been 25, we all been 30. We think we thought we knew everything back then.
I'm still
It
25. I'm still 25.
but a lot of us, when we were 25, and even those that are 25, 30 now, they feel as if they know everything. And we have to understand, and they'll get it because we got it. We came to understand that when I think about me, and this is me, when I think about back then, I was like, I ain't have a clue. I knew absolutely nothing. I'm just like, there was so much learning that I had to do. And I had to be willing to be open-minded enough and be willing to. I've always listened to the before generation, because they've been where it is that we're trying to get to. And for any younger generation that's listening to us, understand we've been where you're trying to get to. We've been where you're going. So there are things that we're going to know, and we're going to be able to impart in you that will keep you from having to hit your head up against the wall, to be able to have to encounter certain things. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to keep it so that you don't have to encounter certain things. Because, yeah, there are going to be certain things that you just got to go through, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
But if you take the majority of the things that we're giving and that we're showing you, there'll be so many other things that you won't have to encounter, that you won't have to get to. So that transparency, that authenticity, and that communicating is just communicating. We all communicate. What's it, John Maxwell says, and I love the book. Everyone communicates, but not everybody connects. And that's what it is. We've got to connect with that younger generation so that they understand, hey, here are the things that I need. Here are the tools that I need. And I'm better off if I can listen to and get it from those that have already been where I'm trying to get to.
Yeah.
Mm, mm, mm. So, um, I have one point here. Like, you said that you're telling the new generation that we've been where you are when you where you want to get. But there's something here we need to consider, or we need to remember, that today there are a lot of things that we didn't have. What, like the things that simplifies life, applications. The fast food is upgraded to delivery and all these kind of stuff. I don't know, like maybe in your part of the world, it's been there for long, but when it came to our world here in the Middle East and everything, like people stayed in the comfort zone, and they don't consider personal growth, personal development, and all these kind of stuff. Like how can we get into the minds of these people? How can we show them the importance of leadership? How can we tell them that it wasn't the way you see it today? It was tougher than that. How can we get them into the real life to grow personally and start leading and understand what does leadership mean in the middle of the confusion that we're seeing today? What would you say about that?
I would say a person have to get connected to their purpose. And I know I keep going back to that, but that's what I just truly believe. Because if a person doesn't have any kind of sense of awareness, if they feel like I'm just here, I'm just existing, I'm just making it day to day, that's a person that may not really cultivate who they fully can become in their leadership role. But once a person starts tapping into who they are, tapping into their gifts, it's like I see light bulbs go off in a person. Um, you know, there were there was someone that I was communicating with when I spoke last night, and she came up to me at the end talking to me one-on-one. And basically, just sentiments like I felt like I couldn't do it. But that's why the power of words and the power of speech is so powerful. When you share your story and share how you were an overcomer, then she was like, well, I believe I can do it too. And other people was coming up to me. I believe the leader helps create that spark in another person. So that way they can now believe that they can do it. But if and again, a part of that, part B to that answer is, now if a person is just comfortable in staying around environments that's not going to breathe life into them, that's not going to speak to their gift, then they're not going to grow. So a part of it, they have to at least have the desire. They may not have all the tools, they may not even have all the resources, but they got to have that desire. And then when they get in an atmosphere with leaders that can help give them the knowledge, the tools, the resources, but also the motivation, right? So they can activate in their gift. That's when things can change. So it's two parts to it. Sometimes people genuinely may be in a space in their life where they just don't know how to do it. They don't know how to activate their leadership capacity. But if they have the desire and then remove themselves from unproductive spaces into productive spaces, over time they can cultivate that. So it's two parts. A person, if they're just staying in the land of comfort and don't want to take that lid off the box that they've been in, then unfortunately they're going to just stay in that space. There's some people that just don't want to grow, and whether that be because of different things they've had in their life isn't, and I'm not saying they don't have the capability. I believe everyone has the capability, but they have to also have the desire to want to grow, right? So I think, and we have to be mindful what areas and what spaces we enter ourselves into, right? What is our internal dialogue? What's if we're on the phone with someone? A friend of mine, since I was 16 years old, I was on the phone with him over the weekend, and it was the language. He was disgruntled about different dynamics that was going on, and I said, listen, we have to change the language. And I even said, I'm about to get off the phone, and it wasn't pertaining to me. It was about a situation that he was dealing with, and I was trying to coach him through that. And I said, listen, if we don't change the language, I'm about to get off the phone, because I didn't want to continue to even hear the type of language that was being communicated. And so I think us, even as leaders, or even as we're growing, we got to mind our environment, right? So that way we can stay, so we can stay in our prime, so we can stay ready to be able to do what we need to do. So I think it's multiple answers to that. I think it's not no one answer, but I think, again, for those that may be in their comfort place, I always tell people, even when they come to me, as long as you got the desire, I don't care if you ain't got nothing to your name. But if you got the desire, we can make it work, and you gonna move from this place to the place that you desire to be. You got to have the desire. I mean, and we can't give people desire.
Yep.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Yep. Oh, I like that. I like that. That's real good right
Yeah, yeah,
there.
yeah.
And that goes to me, that goes, the desire goes to mindset,
Mm,
because your mindset sets the tone for everything else that we do. Because it will, like, your mindset controls your language, it
mm-hmm,
controls your belief system,
mm-hmm,
and everything that you're looking to be able to do or not do. And
yeah,
and if you
Hmm.
can't believe something, if you aren't purposeful in something, if you don't have the desire and the passion for something, yeah, it's not gonna, nothing else is gonna matter to you. Nothing else is gonna matter. You'll wind up kind of just, running on that proverbial
mm-hmm,
hamster wheel. You'll wind up running on the hamster wheel and going nowhere. And then Catherine, that, I mean, you said something that's real major. I'm like that too. I guard my space. And if I feel like somebody's trying to disrupt that positive energy that you try to have, and that thinking, the positive thinking that you have, it's like, whoa, I can't, I'm not going to be around that. I'm not going to deal with that. And you love, the folks, because I had a friend like that too. It was just like, sometimes I didn't even pick up the phone, because I'm just like, I'm not for it
mm-hmm,
today,
mm-hmm,
because I knew what the conversation was going to be every single
mm-hmm,
time. It was always
mm-hmm.
going to lead to that.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
it's almost like smoke. And I don't smoke or drink, but I hate smelling like smoke. I can't
Mm-hmm,
stand it. And it's like that when you have somebody that is constantly speaking that negative language, or constantly speaking that, the negativity and everything like that, it gets on you. And you be like, I'm like, no,
mm-hmm,
I don't even want it around me, because it'll get on me. And I don't
mm-hmm,
want something like that. And we got to be cognizant of that as leaders, of
mm-hmm,
what we're speaking into other
mm-hmm,
people.
mm-hmm.
Because what we're speaking into them and around them, it can stick.
Yeah.
It's going to stick and stay on them, especially the generation that's coming behind us.
And I would just add to that also, and just speaking to, if it's someone watching now or may watch later, you may say, well, you know what, I don't have the desire, but how do I get from a place of no desire
Mm,
to desire? Because I've been in different places in my life, went through different things in my life. And in that
Hmm.
season when I was just like, I'm just kind of done with it all. I made sure though, even though I wasn't at 100, and my desire tank was not at 100, but I made sure with the little percentage of desire that I had, I would find inspirational YouTube videos of speakers, and I would just keep it. I remember specifically for 30 days straight, every single day I listened to a new motivational teaching about perseverance or just different topics, right?
mm,
Every single day until it shifted my mindset, right? So you may be somebody saying, well, I'm not at 100. You have to start cultivating that, even if it's finding a YouTube video and putting it on, and not just any junk YouTube video, but something specific that can help shift your mind or retrain your mind. What is that? 21 days to create a new habit. I think it's something about it takes 21 days.
mm-hmm.
So if you're that person saying, well, I don't even have desire, if you got 5%, I'm gonna say you can still shift it in the next 21 days.
Right.
So I just wanted to add that.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, this is the thing that we aspire to have on our meetings, because we know that there are so many people who will be looking for different kind of information, you know. And when someone who lived and walked these things is sharing their experience of how they can do it, not in a teaching mode, just like, the tutorial or something. It's just something out of, it's a life example. Like you did all these things. You said that you stayed almost a year. You took a
Mm-hmm.
year off just to know yourself, and
Mm-hmm.
that shows how important it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not. I mean, you are living life,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whether
Yeah.
you're doing something or you're not doing something, you are living life, and these are seconds and minutes and hours passing.
Right.
So you better do something that is going to feed your soul,
Mm-hmm.
rather than just surrendering for the whatever is tempting out there, right? And
Yeah.
living in your comfort zone and everything. So I totally agree with you. I loved your inputs on that. And speaking of transparency, like from the beginning, we mentioned transparency, and we're talking about the next generation, how they need to perceive leadership or what they are expecting from other leaders. Sorry, I'm going to ask you this question. What are the failures that we see in today's world that we need to stop modeling to the next generation? What do you think are the failures that need to be stopped?
Well, the first thing that came to my mind is finances. And what I mean by that is I feel like we're not really educating our next generation in terms of how to be um, financially educated in terms of many aspects, not only just for them, but for the community. Group economics. I know this is a term that we hear a lot, but do we actually operate in group economics? Do we actually build? Because sometimes people say, well, I'm just focusing on building me and mines, right? And we're not really thinking from a global standpoint of community finances. And so I think that really has to shift, because we talking about we want to build up our communities. A huge part of that is the money aspect, the finance aspect, and we're not having enough conversations to educate, I believe, our youth and young adults around financial principles that can shift. Because we can all day again start businesses, but are we teaching the principles on how to really build a business? Are we teaching principles? Because and I'm speaking this because I love my family. There's no shade or anything like that, but I didn't get all the principles that I needed. I learned a lot of things later on in life, right? And went through traditional schooling and all of that, but there were still certain things that just wasn't fundamental things. When you get in the real world, then you realize you just didn't know certain things. So I think if we get down to the fundamental aspects of financial literacy, and I know that term is oversaturated. I feel financial literacy, people throw it around a lot, but when I'm talking about financial literacy, I'm talking about from the standpoint where we're talking about practical things. Like, we have kids graduating from high school or even college don't even understand about credit. Let's take it back to the basics, right? Budgeting, finances, right? Real estate. I feel like that these are missing pieces of the puzzle. And we pat ourselves on the back that we did a great coaching session with somebody, or it's a lot of coaching sessions out here, but are we arming people with the tools that they need to truly be successful, right? And so I think blended with the transparency, we need to be transparent about the money. We need to be transparent about finances. We need to be transparent about things that I know I didn't know growing up, right? And then later in life, and I'm not ashamed to say it, I feel in many ways that I was a late bloomer. But again, the thing is, I've always been the type of person, if I don't know something, I'm going to search out for it. I'm going to study. I'm studying right now to get my series 7 and 66, and that's a hard test to pass, but I'm studying. It's in the in financial investor space. And I said, I'm not going to just stop it. I'm not going to limit myself. I want to make sure I push the barriers and push boundaries. And I think that's what we need to have for our youth: push the barriers and push the boundaries. And I'm saying that, so I'm using an example of my dad. My dad was from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. He was from the country. The time he grew up, he was working on a farm. They didn't really push him, and this is his story to me. They didn't really push him to continue his education. He only went up to the 9th grade. But the thing my father did as a leader, not just only as a father, as a leader, sometimes people, if they don't go far, they don't want to push nobody else far. But my father pushed me. He said, no, you going to finish school. No, you going to go to college. It wasn't like in a mean way, but he really wanted me to continue, right? So we need leaders not trying to put a cap on somebody. If this is the only level you got to, well, that's the only level I think you can get, because this is as far as I got. No, if I'm here, I want you to go here. I want you to go beyond me. We cannot be intimidated with somebody that wants to go beyond where you are. And my father was a perfect leadership role to me, because he wanted me to go beyond where he went. Right. And to this day, I've learned so many principles. He's passed away now, but I learned a lot of principles from my dad of, even though I made it here, nah, you don't match that. You keep going. So I think that's what we need to do. We need to push the envelope and teach our young people to keep going, but with a specific focus on finance, though.
Hmm. Well, do you have any other failure, or shall I elaborate on what you said right now?
Oh no, go ahead
Do
and
you not, do
elaborate.
you have,
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
well,
I've been
you,
hit my head against the wall many times. Yes, many times. I have.
I mean, yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I've hit my head against the wall many times, and I'm not ashamed to say it or to embrace that, because if I didn't hit my head against the wall, because when I was first starting out in business, right, I had limited knowledge, really didn't even know how to start a business. I had the burning desire, and I think honestly that's what kept me going because I had the energy, right? I've always been energetic. But energy isn't enough, right? It's going to get you started, it's going to get you going, but then you got to have it coupled with the knowledge. So I would always center myself around individuals that knew more than me. Even to this day, I don't want to be, you know how they say, don't be the smartest person in the room. Put yourself in environments that's going to stretch you, right? So yes, I've hit my head against the wall. I was cleaning out my office a couple weeks ago, and I came across some old papers from when I was in my 20s of other businesses I started. Like, I'm like, wow, completely forgot about this business name that I started years ago when I was in my early 20s. And I'm like, so I started seeing the timeline from my early 20s to where I am now, how I've evolved over the years. So I would say to anybody where you are right now, don't be ashamed of where you are. Don't be disgruntled about where you are. And I'm glad I kept all those things, because now I can look back and say, yeah, I hit my head there. That business didn't really take off like I thought it was. But all those experiences now has landed me in opportunities where I'm about to walk into another contract. I have a follow-up meeting tomorrow, which I'm very excited about. And I wouldn't be ready for what I'm about to walk into if I didn't have those failures.
Awesome. Well, I'm not going to elaborate as much as I'm going to express my um, gratitude to have you on this webinar, because what you just mentioned is the backbone of everything. And me personally, this was the problem. The financial side is a problem. This is the failure. And the reason why I'm saying this is because um, growing up in life, we had so many opportunities coming, and we used to hear people say that you have to seize every opportunity, which is wrong thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you just seize any kind of opportunity that presents itself, um, you are being scattered.
Mm-hmm.
You are getting away from who you are, right? You don't know what you want. You're just chasing. You're not attracting. This is a lesson that I learned the hard way. Even though I heard this statement a lot during my journey, but I embraced it today more than ever.
Mm-hmm.
I used to chase things, but I didn't attract anything. When I started to focus, I started attracting.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with you. Hitting your head against the wall many times will teach you a lot. And learning things the hard way is going to make you stronger. And yes, we have to start whatever we are with whatever we have. And as long as we are breathing, we can restart again and
Yes.
again and again until we make it happen. So thank you so much for being on this webinar,
Thank
and
you.
or let's say on this virtual table. I don't know. Did you have your drink? Did you order anything?
No, I kind of missed that. I didn't connect the dots with that, but I'm going to fix me some tea right after.
Awesome, awesome. Well, this is it. This is it, and I'm sure we're gonna have you a lot next time, like in our next initiatives. Sorry, in the character-driven leadership cafe,
Mm-hmm.
because we are looking forward to expand the movement so we can spread the message,
Yes.
and tell people, raise the awareness of leading with character, not just
Yeah.
leadership, because there are a lot of noise out there, and you nailed it. You nailed it, especially in the financial thing. That I wanted to hear more failures that we need to stop, but I think that talking about the finances is
Mhm.
top notch, because this
Mhm.
is this is it, and it's not about making the $1 million. It's
Mhm.
about being educated.
Yeah.
So, Dr. McKinsey,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
what's your input?
Mhm.
No, I think that I think Catherine brought up, the financial piece, which I think is huge, 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 huge when it comes to that transparency piece and that authenticity piece that we need to show the the next generation. And the only other thing that I'll add to, I guess, the failures is just um, being consistent and being accountable. I think we need to show them how to do that. I think that a lot of that generation, they have a mindset of entitlement. And so when that goes into, when you think about that in terms of leadership, leadership isn't about entitlement. There's many of people that I've learned, they carry the title leader, but they don't really understand what leadership is. And so
Mhm.
Mm,
we've got to show that next generation that, hey, this isn't something that you just, leadership isn't something that you're given. Something, it's earned, and it's earned through failures or learning. It's
Mhm.
understanding, hey, this didn't work.
Mhm.
Let me do this. Okay, what do I need to do in order to make it work? If there's a deficiency in my skill set, what do I need to learn in order to bring that skill set up? Like
Mhm.
Kevin said, if my failure is finances, then I need to learn about finances. If my failure is in sales, then I need to understand it from leadership and from a sales perspective. If my leadership needs some tweaking, and I have to understand listening better. My failure was I didn't listen, or I didn't learn things, or I wasn't able to assist people. Then those are the things that I work on, because to me, those are the characteristics of a leader. And if I'm not doing well in any of those, listening, learning, assisting, developing, and empowering, or results, then I take any of those that I'm lacking in, or that I'm not doing well in, and I work at them, and I work at them, and I work at them until they're no longer my failures, but I make them a strength. Because we know, the three of us know, in a SWOT analysis, there's strengths and weaknesses.
Mhm.
And
mm,
understanding what those weaknesses are means, hey, these are the things that I got to put more work in. And instead, I guess it's true. They do say that we learn more from our failures or our weaknesses than we
mm,
do from our successes. So if these are the things that we're constantly not achieving and or getting the results that we need to get, then we need to start to think about, hey, what do I need to do more of in that area? Taking that time out, like Captain said, and whether it's watching digital content, whether it's watching something like this that will give you the insight as to what needs to be done, or having something as simple as having a conversation with someone that
mm.
has those traits that you're looking for, calling them up and saying, I'd like to take you to lunch, or I'd like to talk with you about this, because I want to learn more about how I can be better in this area, and I know that you are an expert in this particular area, and I'm trying to get better at it.
Mhm.
When we have those, when we're able to pour that and have that understanding, um, showing the next generation that don't be afraid of failure. It's nothing to be afraid of. You pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, you figure out what went wrong, things that did well in it, and things that didn't go well in it, and you
Mm.
and you shift, you pivot, you become adaptable. If there's anything that I'll say, if you don't have the failure of adaptability,
Mhm.
don't have the
Awesome.
failure of adaptability. Be able to adapt, be
Awesome.
willing to adapt in any and everything that you do.
Mhm.
Awesome. Well, these are great, great, great gems for today's talk. Uh, Catherine, I'm gonna ask you. We are a cafe that speaks character and leadership. First of all, I want to know, what does character mean to you in leadership?
What does character mean to me? Character means to me, even if no one else is seeing what you're doing, no one else is watching you. Character is being consistent no matter who is around you.
Hmm.
Character is how you show up in your business in the very beginning building blocks. Character is also as you grow and now you've reached a certain level, maybe you got, some bandwidth, you got some notoriety. Character is also, I'm not going to let that go to my head. Character is also saying when I have reached a height in my business that I'm going to also now make sure I pour back to the next generation. Character is balance. Character is maturity, right? Because when you
Hmm.
are in a place of your life when you are mature, you're not doing things for just to be seen. You're doing things because it's in your heart to do. So that's character to me.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. You just answered my next question, which was going to be why character is important today more than ever.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the answer for everyone who's watching, whether live or the replay. That's the answer why character is more important to us today more than ever.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Catherine, for
Thank you.
everything you dropped on this call.
Mm-hmm.
A part of what we are offering in the Character Driven Leadership Cafe is something that every guest and every customer, virtual customer in our cafe, who have their beverage and everything, before they leave the cafe, they go towards something we call the leadership wall.
Mm-hmm.
And on the leadership wall, we need or we encourage the guest to leave a note that leaves a legacy, to leave a
Mm-hmm.
note behind that leaves a legacy. And this note is going to be shared with everybody who's following the character-driven leadership, whether today and tomorrow, and based on the expansion of the character-driven leadership. So if I asked you to leave a note on our leadership wall,
Mm-hmm.
what would it be?
I would say your leadership is going to stand the test of time based on what you do in your present moment. Because what you do in your present moment is going to have ripples into the next generation and your family, but also into the community. Yeah, your legacy
Hmm.
has ripples. That would be my response.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great. That's great. Thank you so much, Catherine,
Thank you.
for being with us. And I hope that you enjoyed your time in our
Yes,
cafe. We're looking
I
forward to
did. Thank
have
you.
you. You're most welcome. Most welcome. We're looking forward to have you in our next talks. Of course, we will be hopefully we will be having something called the ICU, which is the Intensive Character Unit podcast.
Mhm.
That's our next project where we will be talking about leadership cracks and finding solution for it. So it's going to
Mhm.
be more intensive conversation, and we're going to be having you listed on this, and you will be
Okay.
contacted very soon.
Mhm.
Um, for now, thank you so much.
Mhm.
And we want to encourage everyone who's watching to follow our Facebook group, Instagram, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and we have something new, which is the LinkedIn page. Everyone will be there. We have everything. We have, leadership notes on the wall. We have episodes. We have insights, tips, advice. Just pick your taste because we are here to help
Mhm.
you become a VIP leader, a leader who walks with values, integrity, and principles, leading with character. Any
Yes.
final words?
Let's continue to lead. Let's continue to build. Let's continue to pour into the next generation. And I always tell people at the end of everything I do, I'm going to see you at the top.
Mhm.
See you on the top. Dr. McKinsey, any final word?
Hey, I think leadership is key. Leadership is legacy. Leadership is what we choose to be able to pour into the next generation.
You heard it.
Yeah.
This is the Character-Driven Leadership Cafe.
Alright, that's it for this week's Table Talk Wednesdays. If this conversation sparks something for you, don't just scroll past it. We want you to share this with someone who leads or want to lead with character at the center. Also, we want you to drop your thoughts in the comments. Trust me, we read everyone. And if you believe that your voice could add something to this movement, don't hesitate to reach out. We will be back next Wednesday with another conversation that matters. Until then, lead with truth, lead with courage, and most of all, lead with character. Peace upon you.